Hello and welcome to Black Crow Gaming's fourth episode of World Eater Tactics. Um, I am Black Crow Gaming's resident World Eater player, Sam. I've recently gone to a smallish GT of 30 players called Hive City, and I won the event. So I thought it'd be best to make my next episode of tactics videos sort of run through of how that event went, like my different matchups and decisions I made along the way. So hopefully this will go well. I've made a bunch of graphics. Let's hope that they turn out okay. And we're going to run through things like deployment and like things to watch out for, why the way I plan my first couple of turns, and then sort of what happened in the games. I want to try and focus on the tactics aspect of the game, but obviously you've got the grand strategy of the different matchups, and some are favored, some are not. It was not the easiest of runs to win this tournament. I played against some very strong players, and had some very tough matches, very close matches. I will just put in a disclaimer now. It is not easy to remember everything that happens in every single game. Across a whole weekend, especially almost a week later. I am going to have up on my phone the scorecards that I might be referring to. Um, so just if I'm looking down at my phone, that is why. I have put in the secondaries that each turn is on the screen, and I'll be talking about those. But there might be things wrong. The graphics, I mean, I've tried my best to, this is the first round. So the first round's we're playing Terraform, it's Chaos Knights, and it's the sweeping engagement deployment. So the first things first, we should probably talk about terrain because not everyone will necessarily know what every bit of terrain on here is. So generally, this large L is a large L. It's what you expect. There's no windows. It's a good bit of area terrain, so it'll be a perspex on the ground. And so if you're stood in it, then you can be seen through those gaps. But this is a solid wall, and it's a very tall wall for the L's. I mean, it comes up quite high. Taller than Angron. Then you've got the small L's, which are not taller than Angron. Or they are and they aren't, but there's you won't, if Angron stood on it, he's going to be seen. But these are once again ruins, obscuring, so breaching. They've got a few different levels in them to stand in if you want to stand up on the windows. But like I say, there are no windows, so you can stand on the different floors, but it doesn't get good lines of sight. And then these other blocks are crates. These are literally 3x6x3 crates. Now we're playing as non-breachable, but obscuring. So if you stood behind them, you're absolutely fine. If you want to go through them, or you can't go through them, but you can go over them. So if you were moving a unit, let's say like ain't bound, that are very fast, they could go over this and it would just remove 6 inches from their movement. 3 inches to go up, 3 inches come down. Obviously you have to clear the thing to do it. You could end up stood on the top, but that's not a place you want to be because you are very exposed in that position. So that's how the terrain works. All these terrain maps were created specifically for this event, and they were using SLAM terrains. There's a group of events, the Peterborough SLAM, and there's an East Midlands SLAM. If you're UK based, I highly recommend checking out the SLAM events, but that's where this terrain has come from. And Hive City were borrowing it, leasing it, whatever, for this event. Hopefully that explains the terrain. With regards to what my list is, I did mention what my list is in the previous video. Please go check that out if you are not aware, but you'll see it when I deploy it if you need that refresher, if you don't want to go back to that previous video or you've already watched it. So my opponent's list. So I was playing against a guy called Joel. Lovely, lovely guy, but as I'm sure some people are noticing, this isn't necessarily the most like hyper competitive Chaos Knights list. It's an interesting list. It's different. I had to look up what Executioners did. Interestingly, they're not awful into 8-bound. Problem is they're only AP1 with their shots. But yeah, so this is a different Chaos Knights list. So Terraform. When we're playing Terraform, you really, really need that board control early. It's one of the few missions that you don't have like it's not like just straight up better to go second. Like going first on this mission is really great because you just go onto all the objectives, you terraform all of them, and you sit there and go, what are you going to do about it? And they need to really forces your opponent to have to do something quite a lot on the first turn. And our main advantage as world eaters is this deployment of like, oh, we're a big threat from the deployment. So quite often you'll have opponents like set up quite passively, quite defensively, which means that if you go first on this mission and they've set up defensively and you just run on and start terraforming everything, they can't always do something about all of those terraforms. So this is the deployment. So I'm hoping this will look fine for everyone on the YouTube videos. It might not look great on a phone, but I will try and explain as best as possible. So we've got Angron in the middle back here. He is hidden, he is obscured. When I'm placing Angron, there's like two places I would consider him on this mission, which would be like here and maybe potentially on this right-hand side in this big L, and then he can fly around it. Basically, I want an Angron in the center because he is the scariest thing for my opponent. My opponent literally hid his large knight in the corner away from Angron as far as literally as soon as I put down Angron, he was like, okay, this is going as far as possible away from Angron. So because he was a big threat to Angron, and so was Angron to him, but he has range. So yeah, the main thing is I usually leave jackals to the last on deployment, just because I like to thread them in between everything. They sort of like fiddle in between stuff. So obviously for this, they're weird shaped, but effectively like towing this objective, so we can sticky at turn 1. This second jackal unit is pushed up into that corner, like threaded in between sort of 8-bound, so I had to leave space for them, so that they could scout. If I go first, they can scout and get onto this middle objective, right? So that's less than 6 inches from my deployment zone to that middle objective, which means I can scout onto it and sticky at turn 1, which is always what I'm looking for to do. Like if I can do a scout with jackals, if I get first turn and do it, and then I will sticky it, and if I don't get first turn, then I keep the jackals hidden, or scout them into a hidden spot if they were exposed. So Invocatus goes in the always goes in a space which is usually out in the open because he's got scout to move about. But also I'm always thinking about where those two units are. So I've stretched jackals this way that are going to be the scout on this side, and I've got exalted 8-bound to just shove up into this corner with the scout on that side. So 8-bound I usually quite often put on the flanks. Quite often they might run into the center to help out and give buffs to the stuff there, but most of the time you'll notice across all of the deployments in this video, I put the 8-bound on the flanks because it means that I just have some potential speed and deadliness on the flanks just to clear up early, or do early actions, or just get some board presence out there, while I usually have like a hammer in the middle, which is quite often that 6 exalted 8-bound. Angron and the 6 exalted 8-bound and the rhino are very rarely all packed together like this, but with this deployment there was only really one good spot for the rhino, which was here in my opinion, or you could have had it back down here and moved it up this right hand side where Invocatus is, or you could or you have it here, and I liked it here because I'm going to shove it up the left. I've got a good amount of 8-bound on the right, I've got a good amount of presence in this middle, and I'm looking at staging spots, right? So my opponent put one stalker in reserve, so yeah, I'm not too worried about his like reserves coming on or anything like that, and I purposefully didn't put anything in reserve this time because I just wanted as much board presence as possible. Playing Terraform or against Chaos Knights, that I can't afford to have my Exalted 8-bound not like projecting their strength onto the board. So that's the reason why I did that. So I got first turn. Terraform, like I've been saying, great for first turn. And so I that's my scout moves. So that's the position my scout after I've scouted where all of my units are. Like I say, not everything's going to be 100% accurate to this. Please do not um, hold me to these boards being 100% to scale or perfectly like placed. And if I forgot, if you're one of the people that I played against and something's slightly wrong on here, I'm sorry. I've tried to remember all the key points, but this yeah, I've tried to just make it representative of what happened. I may have forgotten a unit here or there, died in a certain way or something like that. If it didn't impact the game in a huge way, that could have happened. So also my lord is always sat on my home objective. Like he lives on the home objective until the opponent doesn't have any reserves or stuff that threatens it, or in this case because my opponent doesn't only has the stalker and terraform. I don't really care about my home objective. We're moving on. So that's my scout. That's quite normal. Moved up as much as I can in most places. And then turn one, I have secondaries of containment and secure no man's land. So containment, I've always set up in a way that I've got stuff on either side. I've got 8-bound units, I've got spawn, I've got maybe jackals in some cases, we might see later. But or invo is pretty much always in the center, but the lord might be near an edge. You've got to be thinking about that early. Secure no, this is a great first turn, right? This is an 11 on secondary's first turn. I put my left 8-bound have to stick out in the open. This train style really well done. Like you can't contain and be hidden, which is kind of a cool thing. So the 8-bound do a contain. The lords moved up because my home objective was stuck by this jackal unit at the start. My rhino couldn't do, had to advance to get up there, but it has just towed onto the objective. So my opponent has to react, otherwise I'm scoring points on that objective. Jackal's in the middle. So Angron just literally leaps over this wall. I was always going to do that. That was the plan from game on. Like, let's get some presence into the middle of the board. If he comes out anywhere with any war dogs towards this middle, I then have threat range. And so that's all you should be thinking about. Safe spot for Angron to stand. How far can he project his threat? How scary is he to the opponent? Can they do what they want to do without being scared of an Angron just ripping through them? Jackal is just blocking it off the back of this objective with Terraform, and Invocatus goes to this right-hand side with Terraform, and we're storing our 8-bound to be reactionary, right? They're staged there. Now, I could have moved further up with them, but there's just no reason to. The objective's back here. My opponent's got a bunch of shooting up there. I don't want to give him sight lines. Spawn are on the edge of this terrain because, once again, they can't be hidden while doing containment. So that's the 2 containments and then 2 terraforms. And I leave my 6/6 auto 8-bound at the back because there's once again, no reason to push up the board. I've projected threat across all of the objectives. I'm in a very strong position across all these objectives, and it forces my opponent to respond. So the response from the opponent is to move up some chaos knights. I mean, obviously. So he moves about some positioning in the middle, keeps some stuff there, sort of stages himself because he can run through things with the carnivore, with things. So he moves the carnivore up, and my opponent got no prisoners and recover assets. So this huntsman is doing recover assets. This huntsman and his big guy killed my Invocatus. So he stops 1 terraform there. I did, for 1 CP, stick this objective to give myself more primary. Because the way I saw it is this carnivore is taking this objective off me, so I'm only sitting there with 2. So I wanted that 3rd one to sort of push my score up. I also, because he isn't committing into the middle, I think he did some pot shots with this stalker. This objective in the middle is mine. It is also stuck mine from the previous turn because I scouted onto it. So, but it's also terraform. So if terraform the middle, we still have presence to the right. He does some shots into the 8-bound, hurts them a little bit with the executioner. The carnivore failed his charge, which is unlucky for him because carnivores get to reroll, but it wasn't it was like a 6 or a 7 probably. So, or maybe even more. I can't remember. This was game 1 of the weekend. So then my response. I shove so much over to that left-hand side. it is insane. So we have our berserkers come out, Angron leaps across, the Ain't-Bound shuffle onto the objective and do terraform. We've got the Lord going in, and Jackals just screen out the middle of the board while I shove my Exalted Ain't-Bound into a better staging spot. So not a better staging spot, just a more risky, like exposed, but like I'm pushing up this right-hand side, and so the angles for them to be shot at are non-existent there, which means it's a safer spot, and we can then project pressure further onto his home. So then I charge across the right and left, and I just wipe the floor of 3 war dogs. I even tag this executioner here. This is a great position to be in, right? This is game 1. I'm playing against a more casual, like narrative style player, and it's a really good matchup for me. So everything's going our way. We progress on. He comes in. We've got like recover assets. Still, I think he gets rid of it here because I stopped it because I killed that huntsman. So that's the other thing. If you see your opponent taking recover assets and actually trying to do it, look at where his units are, and if you can kill them, do it. Like even if it's like it's worth sacrificing an Ain't-Bound unit, exalted Ain't-Bound unit into like a crappy unit, if you're gonna kill that thing and stop recover assets, because not only does it stop them scoring points, it also means that they can't score. Like it's one less secondary they get to draw the next turn unless they spend a CP to get rid of it. So it's like it's such a trap. I also, on the opposite side of that, I very rarely try and score recover assets unless it's towards the end of the game. So he comes forward, kills a bunch of my stuff in retaliation, mostly jackals and some exalted Ain't-Bound on this side. But because this stalker was doing containment, he didn't kill these Ain't-Bound, which means I then come forward and kill the carnivore and kill. I killed these 4 war dogs like this, charging across. I've now by the way, these Ain't-Bound last turn were terraforming. These Ain't-Bound were terraforming, which means I've now terraformed all 3 of the middle of the objectives, which means my primary is just solid from here. And Rhino just comes and sits on the objective because this middle one's stuck, this right one's stuck because of a CP and because of jackals, and my home's stuck. The Rhino needs to sit on that objective. But we just push forward. And I've got assassinate, and I kill 2 stalkers this turn, and generally, he comes back, he shoots up my exalted Ain't-Bound. I think 1 lives. I then come across, but effectively the game's over at this point. He's not got much left. I'm just mopping up what I can, scoring what I can. I end up getting up to 100. I've got storm hostile behind enemy lines. So I don't think I get the storm hostile here, but I've already scored so well on secondaries early that this is the thing. I'm trying to move through quickly to get on to the next games. So game 1 went as planned, went very well. Game 2 was my opponent was unfortunately paired up because we had 30 players, so 15 people won round 1. So I was a winner of round 1 and played against someone who lost round 1. Funny enough, he lost to the person who I played in the final. So he played in the first 2 games, played the person who came first and the person who came third. So, Custodes, the list. So he's got 2 blade champions with 2 sets of wardens. He's got the shield captain with Alaris, with a unit of Alaris, and then he's got 4 guard running alone, and then just 2 units of prosecutors and Calidus and Canis Rex. So it's big boy, Canis Rex. Calidus in the corner, and this is quite a standard setup. He's grouped up nicely together. It's hard to know what's best to do in this situation. My deployment, once again, Invocatus in the middle, a couple of units that can scout near him. We've got Ain't-Bound on the flanks, and this time we've got the Rhino on a flank because this spot running the Rhino up here, we've got a nice safe path to come up towards this objective, and I've got the spawn on the other flank to go and stand on this objective. So once again, Lord, he's got stuff in reserves. We want that Lord on that home objective. I put my Exalted Ain't-Bound in reserve because I didn't have confidence in being able to just run through this stuff and get to squishy stuff. So it's nice to have like a rapid ingress position to go for it. So this game was very odd. So like the deployment, this is especially for search and destroy. So we're playing Search and Destroy Purge. So already not great that I'm playing as Purge against these sort of Custodes. This is the first time I played against Custodes since the Codex, and they're nasty. They don't have the same shenanigans of just being untouchable, like fight first problems or anything like that. We now have a brawl, but I had some interesting moments in this game. So, I believe, let me just pull up. I believe my opponent goes first in this game, or did I go first? Yeah, so my opponent goes first, which is usually good for Purge for me. So I do my scout moves. I'm just sort of hiding some stuff. Invocatus was sticking out a little bit. All the ain't bound go and hide in this spot, and we move the ain't bound up that way. So, general scout moves, pretty normal. The rhino was set up in a way that it wasn't on the line because then it can't be seen very easily. So the idea was basically you'd have to get to be stood around this spot to get sightlines on that rhino, which is not realistic. Okay, so he just moves forward and sets himself up on the board. So he'd bring it down and cleanse, which is a very unfortunate first turn. He had to advance onto this objective, so he didn't have he didn't cleanse at all. So no secondaries for him on the first turn, and then I go. Now I don't know if I would do things exactly the same this time around, but I moved aggressively. The way I see wardens is you want to bait out that 4+. If you can get rid of that 4+, it's amazing. So I moved Angron up here and wrapped him with Jackal. So I was like, okay, this I don't know. I was thinking I can go for this charge, and it's not the end of the world. I mean, I've got Locus and recover assets. I was thinking I could just throw Angron up here and Locus or whatever, but I think I obviously advanced him to get him there, and I wasn't really this was just not great for secondaries first turn. I don't like recover assets, but yeah, I went for the 8 bound charge into the wardens to try and get rid of because that lacerated damage 3 is a big threat into wardens. If he doesn't use his Feel No Pain. So I'm trying to bait out that Feel No Pain. I shoved the rhino up because I'm not it's reasonably hidden there. I'm not really scared of he doesn't really have that much damage at killing a rhino other than in combat with one unit. And even then that it's Azalaris that are good into vehicles and stuff, and they're not on the board yet. So this was, I thought, was a pretty safe bet to just get aggression on my 6/6 or 8 bound of staging. Jackals are moving up because they've stuck the home objective. Is this? Yeah. So they've stuck the home objective, and then we have we do actually do recover assets with the spawn and with the lord, because it's reasonably safe. Yes, he could deep strike in some things, but that's why we put Invocatus here. We've got 8 bound over there. It makes it hard for him to place the Alaris Terminators in a place that's scary for those spawn or for the lord. He has to make a 9-inch charge on him, and then his units out in the open. So I do charge Angron in. I make the charge, then swiftly after that, I charge with the Jackals to tag as many of these wardens as possible. I also charge with the 8 bound. So he pops the Feel No Pain for this unit of wardens. He chooses not to for this set of wardens. He uses a strat to do -1 to hit, which is, perfectly reasonable. A risk, because if I roll well, he can lose most of that squad. I did not roll well. I rolled with my sergeant. I missed all 5 attacks and was very sad. So the 2 other guys killed, I think, 1 warden. And then Angron against the wardens with the Feel No Pain managed to kill 1 warden. So I killed 1 warden on this side, 1 warden on this side. Jackals mostly died. I think there was 3 of them left or something. Angron took 4 wounds back. It was not a great time to be held. I think I had to use the -1 to damage strat to keep Angron from taking too much. So yeah, that was not a good first turn from me. And because I fed him a unit, he got the kill 1. So not a great start. I didn't kill anything, and I just fed my opponent a unit and didn't even proc off the Feel No Pain. Did proc it off this unit though. So he then deep strikes down. The prosecutors in reserve come on to do containment over here. He fallbacks and charges with the wardens here. Canis comes back to give Angron a what for. You've got containment over here from the assassin, and the guards step onto the objective. These advance and charge to go after the Exalted Ain't Bound. I believe at this point is when this Jackal unit gets slaughtered. Yes, correct. And then this is from the shooting, and then we get the 2 charges. Now, because of the CP, I've got 2, right? So I either stand there and interrupt with one of these 2, and basically this unit of wardens hasn't used its Feel No Pain, so he procs it, so then he can tank my interrupt. So he hits Angron first, kills Angron. I mean, he weakened him with Canis, and then we like trade damage here, which was a big fluff. Both sides just did barely anything. It was very funny. I think I killed 1 more warden. He killed like 1 Exalted Ain't Bound. It's like, okay, I guess that just happened. And then I come forward for my turn with no prisoners marked for death. Now, marked for death is pretty good when they don't have that many units, but they had enough. So, we've got Canis, we've got this guard unit, and we've got, Canis, and then the assassin and this prosecutor unit at the back. So I tried to do a 9-inch charge with the Exalted Ain't Bound to try and get that. Didn't pay off. But I did go and charge in multiple places. I clean up these wardens, and I almost clean up the other ones, but I lose that fight there. And a disaster happens with Master Executions. Doesn't try and kill the Alaris Lord because he procs his I only take 1 damage per hit. So he just tries to chew through the unit. I still think I kill like 1 with my 10 berserkers and Master Executions. The dire situation there. And then the clapback leaves me with just the Master Executions, and we're in a weird spot. Angron's dead, and I'm fighting here. At some point, I think it was either at the start of the next turn or in this point where Angron revives. Thank God, because I really needed it, because my Ain't Bound get hurt over there. We've got not much here, so we're running out of steam in a lot of ways. So yeah, this is the position when it comes to my turn. We don't have much left, but thankfully Angron is coming back. Spawn, in the meantime, did charge up here and failed to kill this squad, which means we sat in a weird place where the spawn end up doing an action later. So I do containment up here. I get area denial. Angron comes back. My 5 Exalted Ain't Bound go into his guard, while I wall off the Alaris with a rhino. The idea is just to keep him at bay, so that he can't get to my Exalted Ain't Bound too easily. Makes it like a hard charge to run around because these are like the Terminator guys. So I clear up the middle. I kill all bar 1 guard, and he uses a strat to get extra attacks, and that 1 guard hits me back and kills 3.5 Exalted Ain't Bound, put me down to 1. Which was like, oh, okay. 1 custodian guard can kill that many Exalted Ain't Bound, apparently, but the wardens fluffed it earlier. So it's how the game goes. The Alaris teleport, do some shooting, do some charging, take back the middle. Canis moves up, and then I have a decision to make. So I either go with Angron after Canis, because I have Assassinate, but Canis doesn't give up Assassinate until you kill the little guy, Hector. So yeah, this was not great. So Angron had to try and chew through this squad that was failing to chew through earlier. My Exalted Ain't Bound go after an Assassin that went after them. Spawn finally clear up here, but I killed this center block. Canis comes and kills me back. Basically, there's just nothing left in the board. But because I've got the end of the round, I can stand on 3 objectives, score more. I've done much better on my secondaries across the board. I'm 10 points up, and I cinched this game. But I wouldn't have had it without Angron reviving. This game was a struggle for me. I don't think Custodes are necessarily that difficult, but when when played well, it's very hard. The wardens can spike and be very annoying to deal with. But yeah, this wasn't a very typical game. It was a lot of hitting stuff and just, oh, I killed one. Okay. So I've ran through that quite quickly. I don't know if I really focus too much on the tactics side of it, but the deployment is quite a standard one. But yeah, so I'll go on to game 3. So Dark Angels. This Dark Angels list was a little bit different to the standard, but still has 15 Deafening Knights. So it's got the 2 to 5 mans with maces and then the 1 set of swords. Now he's got 3 units of Devastators with in Razorbacks. So the Razorbacks all have Twin Las and Hunter Killers. So there's a lot of threat. So we've got a unit of Devastators with Melters, unit of Devastators with Melters, and a unit of Devastators with Grav. Kind of saving grace. The Grav doesn't do very much into me. So yeah, I have a weird start to this game. So this is Scorched Earth. Hidden Supply Scorched Earth, I think, is really good way to play. We've got this like quite a big setup in the middle. Once again, the rhinos on a separate part to the side. We've got the unit of 3 Exalted in reserve. We've got jackals in position to be scouted, as well as other jackals and Exalted 8-bound. So we've got some options on the scout, but there isn't. He's set up very passively, very defensively, so I'm not really worried about. And he doesn't have that much like mass shots of shooting. He's just got some big hitters, which is quite common for Dark Angels. The ICCs have Azrael with them, which make them extra tanky with the 4-up invon. And we've got a couple of units of jump intercessors and lots of scouts. So he didn't scout block me. This is incorrect. It gets fixed there. Okay, so I couldn't remember where this scout unit was originally. So this scout unit's actually down in this bomb. So he doesn't really scout block me at all, which I think was probably a mistake, but you know it's really hard to tell because he tries to keep his scouts alive. But you know, if I had gone first, it's a bit of a commitment to come over potentially for no reason to kill scouts. But yeah, so after the scout moves, literally those scout teleport over there because I put them in the wrong place to begin with. He goes first. So once again, I'm getting a second turn, which is quite nice. For Scorched Earth, and just the game in general forces the opponent to come to you. This game, I'll be honest, is the most hazy, where I'm not entirely sure where some units exactly went, but the general gist of it is correct. So his first turn, he sort of shuffles forward, scores some secondaries. He's got extend and cleanse. It's pretty good. The 2 scouts cleanse, and you've got extend by default there. And he's just sort of barely moves from his deployment zone, just sort of set up the way he was deployed. Me to come to him, sort of thing. Then my turn. I've got assassinate and sabotage. Not great first turn. I'm not going to assassinate anything, but I can sabotage over here with Spawn. He has got Deafening Knights in reserve, and he could come forward and multi-melt with me, but if he's multi-melting the Spawn, he's got to come quite far forward, and that's just opening himself up to a lot. This was also a mistake. This will get, I think I fixed this later, I can't remember. It's actually the opposite way around. The Invocatus is on this objective. The Jackals ran forward and charged the scouts. So we've got 8-bound advancing up to charge the scouts, and we've got Jackals to charge the scouts. Just take these objectives off him because we're playing Scorched Earth. If I can keep him on his home objective only, I'm going to be ahead on primary. So it's all about just getting the positioning. So getting the jackals up, getting taking him off stuff, causing him, killing his scoring units. So if your opponent's scout blocking you, kill their scoring units, because they in every other match where they're not scout blocking people, those are their units they use to like score their secondaries. They score their like to put them on primary when they don't want to commit stuff there, or hold like home field objectives while they run forward and stuff. So just taking their units off the board is a great advantage. So I come forward. I don't quite kill this unit. Like I say, it's actually the jackals, not invocatus, that do this, which is probably why I didn't kill the whole squad. But I do take this objective off him, and the ain't bound to quite easily take up those scouts. So Angron and the Exalted are once again in a position to project threat. So the Exalted can run up this top side, run down this bottom side. They're spread across this whole line. Angron stood nicely behind them. He can just run straight, like fly straight over this. Yes, it slows him down slightly, but not nearly as much as you'd think. The Rhino's progressed up to, once again, progress right. Rhino is going to die. Right? I couldn't think of a better like it. I just want it up. He doesn't have enough shooting where he's going to pop the rhino and then shoot and kill me. And if you wanted to run the Deathwing Knights up to try and kill the unit that comes out, I mean, I can come out the back of it if he's got an aggressive. So I'm not really scared of that either. So yeah, at the end of that's the end of my turn. His turn. He has behind enemy lines and overwhelming force. Now, overwhelming force, we've got stuff all over objectives, and Deathwing Knights teleport to the back corner to get behind enemy lines. So he moves forward, drops out Devastators, I can't remember if he dropped out Devastators in the middle here, but he pulls forward these assault jump pack intercessors, same here, and he just melts the crap out of me and stands on objectives and charges the jackals, kills the jackals, pops the rhino. I thought I fixed this, but apparently I did not. So this next turn, this unit is not jackals, it's invocatus. He comes round onto this objective and starts burning it, while Spawn go and block the Deathwing Knights. So I've got my units running forward into their stuff here and will chew up this area. And I've got Spawn blocking the Deathwing Knights that have deep struck behind me. He can't fit between my Spawn and the board edge, and he can run around this way, which means he's not going to be able to stop me burning this objective. Which then means the Deathwing Knights are even further away from any other objective. So I think this is one of my favorite plays of the event, was to basically pin this Deathwing Knight in the corner. I'm just like boxing them out, and it was just a great thing, because I mean I just don't need to worry about those Deathwing Knights for the rest of the game. Yeah, he can come kill the Spawn and then come forward, but by that point he's got to try and I'm just gonna be running away my army from this objective, and so he'd have to get here. He might get here on like turn 4 or 5 if he rolls fast. Because his stuff's on the board, we start moving the Lord forward. Because we no longer need to like screen out the backfield objective, and we know that they're stuck in the corner. They're not making it over to this objective unless we give them like places to charge along the way. Jackals move up, Angron hops over, and kill the scoring units. Yeah, it might feel a waste throwing Angron into some jump pack intercessors when there's Deathwing Knights over here and they might charge him or whatever, but who cares? Like, I rapid ingress my Exalted Ain't Bound last turn over here. And so then they can run up and deal with the Devastators. So if he can't kill me in shooting, I mean, Deathwing Knights don't actually kill Angron if you've got CP to spare. He will slowly chew through them. They struggle to kill him, even at the best of times. So we have the 6 Exalted Ain't Bound. So I'm using my two big hammers here to kill just 2 scoring units, because I'm not too worried about. He's got now that one Deathwing Knight's out of the corner. He's got 3 units that scare me in combat, and he's got 3 units that scare me in shooting. But I'm going to kill 2 of them right now. Now he has a strat that he can get back in with a reactive move, and I think he was short on CP and just didn't want to use it in this case. I can't remember the circumstance, or he did use it somewhere, but yeah. So or maybe it's a Razorback Fate. I can't remember. So the Ain't Bound and the Berserkers are just going to take on the Razorback and the things, try and avoid the Deathwing Knights. It was a weird. It didn't look quite like this. It was like he couldn't very easily do the heroic, and once again, I think he was very short on CP. So CP management's huge in these melee matchups, by the way, as you'll see. So I just sort of clean up everything that I want to clean up. I even tag this Razorback, and I'm just sort of sat across here. Once again, these are not jackals here. The jackals are dead, and Invocatus is on this objective, burning it. Then he responds. It's now the counter charge thing. So he puts Deathwing Knights into Exalted Ain't Bound, Deathwing Knights into the Berserkers with Fight First, and into this 6 Exalted Ain't Bound after softening them up a little bit from shooting. So he softens them up from shooting, charges them, rolls too high. So when you're looking at doing these charges, I would recommend checking out my charge video, but I'm going to do one on heroics as well. You kind of want to string your unit back a little bit. If you don't, you only need like your front guy to be within like the fastest to charge. You don't need loads of people there, because if you roll high, something like this can happen where you have to base round this other side, especially because I took off the ones in the positions further away from Angron, and Angron gets a nice heroic, which is dire because he picks up my squad, but then I pick up most of his. I use Epic Challenge to take out Azrael and then kill most of the squad afterwards. They still got their 4-up invuln for the whole activation, but he did not roll particularly well, and Angron, with his sweep profile, chews through ICCs. Zerks and Deathwing Knights sort of clashed in the middle. Obviously, I got fight first. I killed a couple of Deathwing Knights. He killed a chunk of me, and we're still there fighting. Yeah, blocking. These jackals were doing very little, but then they're now just covering this angle. Deathwing Knights can now no longer get to Angron. Angron is stuck in combat with a single ICC, but that's fine. Jackals are covering his ass. I can't remember what happened with these jackals because they were dead. And Invocatus, I think, came up towards sort of helping out here. Might have even attacked the Deathwing Knights. I can't remember, but I go and kill his home objective. I've got things like Overwhelming Force, Mark for Death. I'm not going to get Mark for Death this turn because it was things like Deathwing Knights and stuff I couldn't really reach, and that's fine. But I do clear his objective on his home, which means no more primary for you. He was doing actions with these Deathwing Knights, things like sabotage. I think he did containment and sabotage. I did actions and stuff like that. So it was very funny just being trapped in. I trapped him in this corner, and then he stood there and just scored a load of points, which is fine. I'd rather than be out of the game scoring points when I've got plenty of points for myself. And so yeah, Deathwing Knights come clear up those jackals. Once again, I forgot this objective was burned. These jackals are not there. I was trying to remember what they did. But yeah, so Zerks and everything that Angron just come and clear it up, and that's sort of the end of the game. So 3-0 after day one. Fantastic. Definitely not crapping myself that evening because I was matched up into Thousand Suns, one of our worst possible matchups. Burden of Trust is a weird mission. So we've got a very standard list of Thousand Suns. We've got Magnus, Araman, 2 Exalted Sorcerers in 5-man Rubik units, 1 Exalted Sorcerer on disc running alone, Infernal Master in a Rubik squad, and then Araman's in a Rubik squad, and then a Demon Prince. Cultist, Sangor, you're left. Should be obvious what's what there. He set up reasonably fine here. I've set up once again. We've got this rhino and Ain't Bound going down one flank. We've got Spawn going for that other, and Ain't Bound going for the other. We've just got Jackal sort of sticking our own objective. This was banners. So Jackals need to stay at home for an extra turn with banners. because they need to end the turn on the objective, so they can't just start and run off. So these jackals have to sit there for a while. We've got Exalted Ain't Bound and Invocatus in the middle, not joined together, but just stood in between each other. So they've got that mobility. And my opponent goes first, I believe. Which means I have yeah. So my opponent goes first. I've got my Exalted Ain't Bound in reserve. The battle plan against Thousand Suns is very much do something good with Angron early. You know, get some damage in early, revive him. Because I don't think I could possibly win without having Angron revive. And while Angron's busy dying and being a big distraction, do as much damage as possible to the rest of the army. Magnus is capable of shredding through an entire World Eater force in by himself, pretty much, it feels like. Now, I've marked the units. So you've got the Infernal Master with the extra damage. This is incredibly nasty. You've got the Crystal guys that they can teleport, even if you're in combat with them, even if it's first turn. So you've got to set yourself up to be screened. So effectively, there's no real spot here for him to just deep strike turn 1 into me. And then Araman can double up, but the law can get 3/1, and the law gets to double up their special psychic power. So I'm looking at trying to do damage with Angron. I'm looking at like trying to get rid of his screen. So I want to send Jackals in. I want to send Invocatus in. Just clear out those screens, clear out the scoring units, force me like him to expose some of his rubrics, and then get in and kill them. So he's got scout with these cultists, and I've got loads of scout. So the scout ends up like this. Even though he's going first, he doesn't play too aggressive with his scouts. He should have been more aggressive. He should have come and wrapped around the terrain here with his scouts turn 1. If he's watching this, that's something hindsight I would recommend. He also leaves this nice juicy gap, his Doom Prince. So that stays there as well. So he moves forward a little bit. He does some mission stuff. He gets a line over here. You know, Magnus can stretch, and so he does pick up my Ain't Bound and gets a bit of no prisoners. That sorcerer on disc is doing the recover assets. I thought for a while about trying to send Angron and 6 Exalted in to kill the beast and then kill the sorcerer. In the end, I didn't go that way. But because of this recover assets, you've always got to think about it. Can I just take recover assets? Especially Burden of Trust. Burden of Trust, nobody scores any primary. It's disastrous for primary. And so those secondaries, stopping him from having a second, on the next turn and potentially have to try and score recover assets again with not many units, is really, really tempting. Problem is Magnus is right there. Like he could have heroicked in if I got the charge onto this, and it's potentially sacrificing my Exalted Ain't Bound for nothing. Well, not for nothing, for points, but like it's just a little bit scary. And in the end, I did something which was also scary, and I don't know if it paid off. It could have been huge though. So we see lots of units all together. We have Exalted Ain't Bound with auras of no fallback. And because they're infantry, you just need to stop one of those. So I got Sabotage and Ares now. I leapt forward. Angron goes for the Mutilative Vortex Beast because he will kill that. Jackals go to sit on objectives. Spawn, do Sabotage. Nice and safe Sabotage because I know that I'm going to tag this crystal. And that, well, I mean, he could have still teleported over and done stuff, but it's just like it's less. I'm confident Spawn can take 1 unit's shots. He reactive moves with I move these Ain't Bound forward over here with the auto advance 6, and a reactive move towards me to sort of not let me get further distance towards him. He could have made the charge harder by coming to the other side of the objective, but he's kind of right. If I get the charge there, it lets me like go back and be hidden behind this wall, and that's worse. The rhino's over here because he's really not got that much damage potential on this side. The Infernal Master does Overwatch Invocatus because I do have area denial, and Invocatus goes down to 2 wounds. So at that point, like, I should have just left Invocatus there. Instead, I made a few mistakes. So I do this charge where I tag everything. So 5 of the Exalted Ape-Man got to hit the Demon Prince because of the nature of like the where the models were placed. So even the ones in base, even the one in base to base with a cultist, he was in base with another guy who was in base with the Demon Prince. So only one guy couldn't do that, and he had to hit this cultist unit. So I also charged Invocatus, and he did, because of the positioning, like I say, isn't right. Invocatus is like on this objective, and I was hoping to kill some of this squad, but not all of it, and hold it in combat so he couldn't shoot Invocatus. So I even chose to use Invocatus's mounts attacks instead of all of his attacks. It's a weird thing because you get to choose your weapon, and you can't obviously attack with the extra attacks twice. So it's like you choose your weapon being the extra attacks weapon, and then you have less attacks. So I only killed a couple of cultists, but the one guy over here killed a bunch as well. So it's like 3 cultists left. Angron kills the Vortex Beast easily. It actually explodes and does a bunch of damage to stuff. I didn't kill the Demon Prince with 5 Exalted Ape-Man. He does have reroll saves and blank damage, and the guy lived on 2 wounds. But I got in and tagged this Crystal squad, and he hit me back with the Crystal squad and the Demon Prince and killed 2 Exalted Ape-Man. I was like, okay, that's. But I've got 3 things he has to fall back with. So he passed all the fallbacks. I'm like, oh, my gambit to throw my. Oh, well, he failed the fallback on the cultists over here. So Invocatus couldn't be shot. But he's on 2 wounds. And he passed all the fallbacks for the Exalted Ape-Bound, which means, oh god, they're dead. Angron's also probably dead because Magnus is right there to shoot him. Yes, he came back, but Magnus is, like I say, spreads. He's going to shoot around that corner. They can throw doom bolts into him or other things as well. So, and the Infernal Master's like here and could shoot that way as well. So, doom bolt comes and kills Invocatus, and I lose the 2 big hammers. I did rapid ingress my Exalted Ape-Bound down here because I need to get something done on this side. And if I did it up there was a threat of just having nothing. So we're not in great shape at this point. But Angron's done his one thing that he needed to do. Now he just needs to revive. So he had overwhelming force. He killed the squad here. He didn't really get to hit anything down here because all of this stuff fell back. So we didn't have much damage this way, and everything else just shot into my Exalted Ape-Bound and killed them. Right, what's next then? Well, we need to take back this middle objective. We need to clear this side, and we need to revive Angron. So let's start running him. So I knew I was going to kill the Crystal Squad this unit, which means I can pull from the back. So I move forward and start moving forward. So the Zerks run out of the Rhino. They're going to charge around this corner. The Exalted Ape-Bound are going to kill the cultists to clear the way for the Zerks to hammer into the rubrics. The Massive Execution ends up tagging like on the end here and just slaughters that squad. The Ape-Bound. Oh yeah, I get overwatched. The Jackal squad gets overwatched by the Infernal Master squad, and that dies. The Ape-Bound squad comes up here and charges that way. So basically, it's a thing of like multi-charges. And what happens is the Exalted Ape-Bound kill the cultists, the Berserkers kill the rubrics, and then the Ape-Bound, because this Demon Prince is on 2 wounds, have full rerolls. So they quite easily pick up the Demon Prince. And so we get our Assassinate, and we've got Defense Stronghold because it's stuck. And we're guarding things and stuff like that. Although moving this guy off might have been a mistake because this was just getting me primary points, which Araman's getting for him back here. So we do what we need to do, and we even revive Angron. So when we kill one of these squads, I think it was the cultist squad, I rolled my Yahtzee to get sustained hits for the rest of the stuff, because quite often I'll pick Advance and Charge Fiona Pain, and I got sustained hits after killing some stuff. So yeah, great spot to be in. Oh, the rhino didn't quite kill the Zangors enlightened. Ah, well, it contested this objective to stop him from scoring primary. Spawn didn't make the 9-inch charge, sadly. Right, so we're actually in a good spot all of a sudden. This game could go either way. It's all about getting Angron to do something and not lose everything there is. So his response back is he moves up. We got Angron there, so he's got extend and defend stronghold. He just wants to clear everything out over here. So we've got Araman in his squad, they'll kill the Ain't Bound. You've got the Magnus kills the Exalted Ain't Bound. The Angron Enlightened's just running away from the Rhino. Cultists are standing objectives. So you've got like 5 OC on, or Cultists might be 2 each. It's got way more OC. Stands one guy on this objective over here. He's sending this guy over this way to deal with Jackals, I guess. But he attacks with the Infernal Master into the Zerks without Doombolting them first, which means that's a full strength squad. So Angron Rapid Ingress is back here. Okay, I'm going to spend a minute to talk about this Rapid Ingress. I spent a good 10 minutes of my time probably thinking about, I always play on a clock, so it is my time. I spent a good amount of my time thinking about where to put Angron. There was multiple times I was thinking about putting him more aggressive, but the problem is he still has a reactive move. So he could just move Magnus up like closer, get sight on me, double Doombolt me and shoot me. And Angron just goes bye-bye. I've just spent 1 CP to rapid ingress him and gained nothing. I mean, yes, Magnus has now used all his shooting and he's used multiple Doombolts or whatever, and so some of this other stuff survives, but I've now got nothing that can really deal with Magnus because I've not got anything that's like high damage and he's -1 damage. So it is just a nightmare situation if I let him catch me. This spot means that this spot of his, he can't really get like a double move to get sight on me. And if I auto advance 6, I can get to basically next to where he is with that 20-inch move. Yeah, you got to go around a bit, but I pre-measured all of this out, and I could get to about here, which is really really scary spot for him. And he's not got any screens. He could have. I don't think even like a second move for these guys would have screened properly. So he decides to move backwards with his second move. So then Angron doesn't have the ability to get that charge. He's hidden behind his unit here. So this was a really important move, but he played it right by going back. But Angron lives and he's on the board and he's now a danger to the opponent. So, and then the next part of this turn goes well. So he goes, Infernal Master shoots into the Berserkers. He rolls 11 shots, which is really high. He then does 6 wounds after, with death wounds and after my failed saves. And I fail all the Fear Pain, so 6 guys die, and the rest of the squad tickle the next 3 to death. So I have 1 guy left alive with the Massive Executions about 2 inches away from him. And obviously, I piled into him. So he like Doom bolted one of the squads to death, or mostly to death, and then shot them, and then Magnus shot the other one. And it's just So the all my Ain't Bound are dead, but the Berserkers lived, and they go in. Oh look, there's a nice juicy Infernal Master for me to execute. So Master Executions just takes his head and doesn't do much more than that. But I don't care. That's all I needed him to do. And he also does charge me with the other squad. So because obviously I've got fight first anyway, I still kill the Infernal Master, but then that squad comes out of combat. This squad kills that last Berserker, but doesn't quite finish off the Massive Execution. So I've just got a single Massive Executions there without fight first, just being like, I'm gonna kill you, and it's my turn. But he needs saving because he won't get to attack before this squad. So my turn. I got to get aggressive. So I've got engaged, so I sort of need to spread out a little bit. I've come out of my home completely. But yeah, I basically get engaged quite easily with the rhino and jackals, and I'm one of the many units that end up in this quarter. So we the rhino shoots the cultists, finishes them off, and charges over here. We have just sort of relaying across to get more damage into whatever and just get my models across the board. But we don't go for Magnus at all. We just charge things and deal as much damage as possible. So we don't kill the sorcerer. We take like half his wounds. But Angron picks up that squad quite easily, and the Lord plus the Spawn pick up the other. I mean, there's only like 3 guys left, I think. So I think it was just the Lord chew through them. Lots of attacks that damage too. We'll do that. So we're getting on to his turn 4, I think, or 5. No, it'll be his turn 4. The Rhino fails to kill this guy, but he fails his battle shock. So no primary for him. And he has Secure No Man's Land and Storm Hostile. So he comes across and he shoots Angron with all of his might. He doom bolts he's not got much left on the bolt points or whatever they're called. So the doom bolt out my master executions. I think some shots from this guy do some damage here, but I can't remember. And we're in a weird spot where Angron needs to die. So he shoots a lot into Angron. He did doom bolt the master executions, which maybe wasn't necessary, but like Angron goes down to 4 wounds. 4 wounds left. Magnus charges here. Araman charges here. So that's from the shooting from the 2 of them. So I've got 2 CP. I point out very clearly. My opponent asks, there's no like fight first or anything. And I'm like, well, I've got 2 CP and I can do -1 damage with the 2 CP if I want to. So Araman's with a squad of 5 Rubiks. Angron has 4 wounds left and has Feel No Pain. I mean, obviously, everyone knows watching this knows that I won this game. My opponent chose to activate Magnus first, which was a mistake. And he realized it as soon as he finished activating with Magnus, and I went, I'm now going to interrupt with Angron, which, I'm still on edge of like, maybe I should have told him, but also the Araman, maybe I shouldn't have let him make that mistake. But Araman and his squad going into Angron with -1 damage doesn't necessarily kill him, even with 4 wounds left. That maths is very close. It could go either way. So, and if it did go the wrong way, it doesn't change the game. So if Angron lives, he didn't do any more damage to Angron, even though he tried to overwatch him. So Araman's squad dies. Angron goes across and kills. Why is that? How to load? There we are. So Angron goes across and kills Magnus, and then that's the end of the game. So super close game. The only way you can beat Thousand Suns is with a bit of luck at the right times, and that's a very very tight game, and Angron reviving is always necessary. So feel free. This is the one time where I'm like, I'm just going to throw him away early if it's going to get me some value. Killing a Mutilith Vortex Beast, worth it, and then just betting on that early revive so he can be effective afterwards. That's the way that goes. So we have a round 5. So this is the final game. I was against a guy called Harley. Absolute fantastic player, very strong player, using a Grey Knights list written by Ed Watts, I believe. And it's a horrible, horrible list. So it's a very small list. We have 3 units of Terminators with 3 Librarians, and then a Strike Squad, an Interceptor Squad, and a Calidus. So he's got 6 units. I think, in hindsight, thinking this over, I think he shouldn't have put the Librarians in the Terminator squads and just had them running solo in reserve or stuff like that, because we are better at killing squads with character keyword. You know, that +1 to wound, or the Master of Executions, for example. So yeah, wasn't a thing. By the way, this game, even though it was the last game, really hard to remember when your opponent's teleporting units everywhere, exactly where units were. So take everything with a pinch of salt. What happened? Well, I think I will portray it accurately what happened, but it's, you know, he's teleporting units a lot and he's only got a few units and they're really big. As you can see, they stretch out very far. You know, he does dog bone them quite aggressively. So we have 3 Terminator units. I mean, one of his librarians is slightly different and has a sigil. Doesn't matter for the World Game matchup. I never shot a gun. So I've set up in a very similar way again. We've got Invocatus between 3 units that can scout, and we choose between them. Honestly, if I was going first, I don't think I would have scouted my Exalted Ain't Bound. It would have been the 2 Jackal units. But I, thankfully, against Grey Knights, and taking hold, I went second. This game does not go my way if I go first. It just doesn't. So his first turn, I mean, so my scout moves are very standard. I just move forward. He's got nothing to block me. He's not really got much shooting that threatens me, and he's set up reasonably defensively. I'm not sure exactly where these 2 Terminator squads are because they come up off the table. This one was spread across the line because he knew if I ran at him, he could just mist away. So that's anyone watching this doesn't know what Mists of Deimos is. If I move a unit within 9 inches of him, of any of his units other than the assassin, he can pick up the unit off the table and put it back into reserve. Or he can move it 6 inches. So it is a scarily good stratagem against a melee only army because I have to get to him and grab him and kill him. And Terminators, like Granite Terminators, they're tanky, but they're not like you can chew through them. I needed, the way I saw it is I wanted 2 or 3, like 2 of my best units or 3 units into them to kill them. So I'm in a weird spot with this game because it's just every move I make, I have to be like, do you want to miss? Do you want to miss now? Because that's the thing is I could move like all of my units next to him and be like, and now I'll move one more. And he's like, and now I go. And it's like, okay, now all those units are out in the open doing nothing. So you've really got to, we had to very much plan through. I mean, it was not easy for him because of how fast World Eaters are, and it's not easy for me because of how annoying his army is to play against. So I put the Exalted Ain't Bound in reserve because it's all I wanted to do was grab his 3 scoring units. That was the aim of the game at the start. It's like I don't need to kill Terminators. I just need to grab the scoring units because the Terminators are going to forever run away from me. So yeah, scout moves forward. I'm hidden-ish. You know, this rhino was pre-measured distance-wise, so he couldn't like advance and because he auto advances 6. He couldn't like advance and do loads of damage to me with his librarians. So mostly that's what's going on. And his turn 1 is very nothing, right? He sits at the back, sticks his home objective. His assassin's going up and down. He has engage and recover assets. So engage does nothing for him. He starts recovering assets over. No, he recovers assets with the unit back here because then this one can go up if I go for him. So the interceptors recover assets and like the assassin recover assets. I'm not going to be able to stop that. Not on this turn. So I move forward. I have assassinate and extend. Assassinate's going to disappear for a CP. Extend. I don't need to commit as much as I have here, but in my mind, I was thinking, well, if I throw my Invocatus into the middle here, it's just like a presence, right? I was like, if I can try and score early, I don't need to worry about scoring late. So, and I was also thinking, if I lose this game, I want as many points as possible. So honestly, I said that to my opponent. I was like, I need these points. So I'm like, I need to be on 3 objectives because we're taking hold. I want that 15 early. So we move up. I actually forgot to move my spawn here. I remember very distinctly being like, oh yeah, the spawn just stood there. But I was like, it's fine. They're screening the back, whatever. He at the end of this turn picks up the 2 Terminator units here. And so they go into reserve. He might have put the strike squad in reserve and put it back down. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it lived there this turn. The assassin also is coming up a lot. So the assassin moved here. Now I have no idea why this happened. There was some conversation that probably happened about this, but effectively Hardy like picked it up and then put it down over here. And it was just, and I think he was looking at what to do with like sabotage and containment and like how to get like a second containment and what was best to do. And then I think he just put the model down, and that's where that model lived. Honestly, as I think back on it, there's no reason for this to be here, which is weird. But it is, and that's foreshadowing for later. Terminators are bullshit when they can do 3-inch deep strike and there's a 11-man unit and they're 3 OC each. So he literally just wraps around and covers both objectives and goes, you're only getting 5 primary now. While he got 10 primary because he has this, OC brick here and I couldn't get to his home. So all I did was like stage a little bit better. But because of this, I do rapid ingress here, which is a nice spot. My rhino might be a bit further forward. I can't remember exactly. But the exotic inbound rapid ingress here, he's doing sabotage with this unit, which means it has to stay on the board for him to score sabotage. Otherwise, he's got a dead secondary into that next turn. In the same way I was talking about recover assets before. I'm like, ooh, that's interesting. That unit can't teleport away, but it can because he will if I'm going to just go for that one. He will still do it, but it's like that's an interesting thing that I was thinking about as soon as he did that, because this unit contained. Then he had this other big Terminator unit come down and shoot, so he basically clears up everything over here. So now we're in a weird spot, and this is the I'm just gonna get a bit more water. My throat's drying up. So it's my turn. I have I get Storm Hostile and Call the Horde. Now I tried to get rid of Call the Horde. This was Adapt or Die. I tried to get rid of Call the Horde. So my first one that I drew was Call the Horde. I then swapped it for Storm Hostile, and then the next one I drew was Call the Horde. I was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. So the way this movement works is I do one unit at a time, and once again, I'm asking him, do you want to Mists of Deimos? So Angron did go first, came across here, and basically was in the middle of these 2 units. It was like an 8-inch charge this way and like a 9-inch charge that way, which I could give myself +1 to charge, and it's like the best of both worlds of being like, I'm threatening both units. So either one could have missed. Or actually, maybe this one couldn't have with that. But anyway, he chooses not to miss. I get my berserkers out and send them over here, so they're going to stand on this objective. And once again, he's got an inclination to not fall back, not miss with this squad. So he's there. This is also a 9-inch charge for those guys, so I don't have to move them to potentially trigger the miss. I can just go for that 9-inch charge. But he doesn't miss on the zerks. I send the 8-bound on the exalted 8-bound here. Doesn't do it. I send the spawn over. He doesn't do it. I send this unit of 8-bound over. Now at this point, I've got 4 squads that are going to be going into this one stretched out Terminator brick. Now there would have been some awful shenanigans with which unit do I activate with. I think the librarian was up at this end, which means obviously I'm not going to do the spawn first or whatever. But he decides to miss with this squad because Angron can still come over here as well. If I roll some nice high charges, this is very scary. So he misses with that squad. That squad comes off the board, and then I now have free movement to do whatever I want, and there's no missed reaction to have. So I roll my advance for Invocatus. I think I got like a a 3, I think was the thing. So I got 15 inches, but this is once again only a 3-inch crate. So it's 3 inches up, 3 inches across, 3 inches down. So effectively from my spot against this crate, I had like 9 inches of distance across with my 15 inches of movement. And then had like a 6-inch charge, I believe it was. And so like this assassin shouldn't be here. I wouldn't have gone for this, obviously, if that assassin wasn't there. He would have done something else. I don't know. But it was a weird thing where it's like, oh yeah, the assassin's there, and I can run straight over this wall, over this crate. So I do it, and also with this unit, I rolled a high advance as well, which means I could run it past these Terminators because he can't miss to block me or anything like that. And now I've got a decent charge onto his Inceptor. So we're looking at 2 of his 3 scoring units as threats. I'm going after. And interestingly, my charges. Oh yeah, he rapid ingresses here. That caught me off guard. Watch out for that, guys. They can miss of Demos and then rapid ingress at the end of your movement phase. And that's scary with 10 Terminators. So he does that, and I'm like, oh crap! Like there goes my home field. Yeah. But I make charges. So funny enough, these Zerks I think rolled like a 3 or a 4, so they didn't get the distance they wanted at all. Like it made me have to activate with them first in a weird way. I wanted to basically run most of my unit round this corner because there's librarians in this corner, and I want to get my massive executions to go in and kill this librarian. So I move the squad round the corner. He pops Armor of Contempt. No, he doesn't pop Armor of Contempt. Because he wanted me to kill more than like 6 with so like Librarian +5 with the Berserker squad, so then Angron wouldn't have been able to fight because he was like within 3 inches of like a good chunk of them. But it wouldn't have included if I killed too many with the Berserkers because I rolled this low charge and had to activate them first. If I rolled the high charge, I could just activate it with Angron first and then the Berserkers because the Berserkers were going after that Librarian, which would have been fine. In the end, miracles happen. I kill exactly the maximum amount I can kill with the Berserkers without stopping Angron from attacking. And then Angron gets, I think, 9 wounds through, which, wasn't amazing because I think I had sustained hits. But yeah, instead of getting, I got sustained hits when I killed the assassin. I killed the assassin first, triggered a sustained hits my whole army. He only had 1 CP, so he couldn't interrupt. And so both these squads had sustained hits. Angron, I think it was 9 wounds. He failed 6 out of he failed 6 of them, which was the exact number. So 6 out of 9 4+s to fail is unlucky. So it's the exact right number for me to then kill the whole squad, which triggers me Call the Horde. It stops his sabotage and gets the primary for me. I probably would have gotten it with the amount of berserkers there anyway, but and then the Exalted Hitman failed to kill all of the interceptors. So there's like 1 guy left alive here. But literally Harley turned around at that point and went, "You just won the game." And my response was, "I do not see that, but okay, I'll take you that you believe that, but I'm gonna need to have to still play this game out of my mind because there's still plenty of problems on the board for me, and it's not easy to connect with these. And I've just proven that I've luckily killed them, but not. That doesn't mean that I'm going to kill them in future." I also got Storm Hostile, obviously, but I was getting that with all 3 of these objectives. So primary wise, he's on 5. I think he does pick up these. So he picks up these. I'm not. He doesn't pick up those, obviously. I don't know for certain if he picks up that Terminator unit because I think it sort of just comes around here anyway, so it might not have been picked up. But it's not. It's really hard for me to remember that one because they still end up in the same spot as you'll see. So It's his turn to return it. Now, the thing about this army is it doesn't do a huge amount of damage, like especially if the librarians roll ones, which I think he rolls a one this turn with that librarian from the terminated one unit. He passes his fallback check, he passes his battle shock and lives, so he's fine over there with this interceptor. He comes forward, shoots and kills my jackals, kills my he will charge onto my home objective. He still has sabotage from the previous turn because I killed it. And he has containment. So he deep strikes this strike squad here, contains, he clears up my spawn and does a bunch of damage to my exalted ain't bound and clears up my jackals over here. So and then charges and kills that squad. So I lose everything at the back. And he's taking objectives off me. But I still have to. I can't remember the reason why he didn't come onto this objective. I think he just didn't want to be that close to Angron. I can't remember exactly where these were, but I did score 10 on my primary at this point. So I don't know exactly why this was, but yeah. So that's the end of his turn 3. He's taken my home field. This is also his warlord, which we know is very important for secret missions because I have a battle line unit up here that he's really going to struggle to kill. And I'm going second, so when it comes to objectives, I can just throw bodies on and try and stop him. And at this point, he's only got 4 units, one of which is a single model. They can stretch over objectives, definitely. Right, I get engaged in locus. Well, let's score some points. So I stupidly roll some advances. We got miss again, right? We've always got to worry about miss. So the oh, I think I'm yeah, no, never mind. So these exalted ain't bound advance to try and catch up this guy. I think basically I placed him around to be like, don't let him move away with the mists. But he just in case, we always want to play for any possibilities. And he picks up this guy because he just feels like he can't afford to lose any more scoring points. So he missed this single guy, which I then went, oh, okay, you've just used your miss. I'm going to auto advance my exalted ain't bound 6 inches, and I'm going after your other scoring unit. So I just yeet them over there. I do some other movements. I accidentally advanced my invocatus, which meant I couldn't do an action with anybody else other than Angron to get into the home field. So Angron goes and sits on the in there and does the locus. We have engaged, nicely spread out, and I make the charge with the 4 exalted ain't bound and clear another scoring unit of his. So he saves this one just to lose this one. I think he picks up the he picks up the Terminators again. I think he also kind of picks up these guys, but at this point he declares he's doing a secret mission. I'm like, okay, and that's why he picks up this thing because he doesn't need to score. He's already at 15 primary. He's going to get 5 primary here, so he will hit that 20 cap anyway. And all he has to do is keep this unit alive on this objective to get 20 points at the end. So I'm now thinking, oh crap, he's got 40 points for primary. I need to get at least that and then also beat him on secondary. So I've already had a good couple of turns of secondaries. I got CP first turn, 5 points on turn 1 from extend, then 9 points from storm and coal on turn 2, and then locust and engage get me 4 each here. So I'm storming ahead on secondaries, which is fantastic. He gets area denial and secure no man's land, so he then gets secure once, and he takes this home objective off me, tries to do some damage into Invocatus. He doesn't kill him, and we're in this weird stalemate. I threw my rhino here to try and stop him pushing out this way because I was just like, I just want to keep this area protected. I then get sabotage and cleanse. Angron moves forward over here to throw these guys back into reserve. Accidental extra thing. The guy came down last turn over here just to stay alive. That's not him. But the Terminators come off the board because they're just scared of Angron just smacking them. So they'd rather be mobile and stuff like that because he can't pick up at the end of the turn as well if Angron's in combat with them. So this is just I cleanse with this unit. I cleanse with ain't bound over here. The berserkers go and do staging things, or sorry, sabotaging. So um, the yeah, the idea is to sabotage here, and I've sort of ringed myself so he can't deep strike in without using his 3-inch thing and be able to target them, because I was scared that he would come down, shoot them, charge them, kill them, and then I've lost my. I now have the secondary problem of having sabotage. So I score the uh, so I do all that scoring. He does pick up more stuff because why not? Because he doesn't need to score primary. Just in case that there was something he could do. This is his turn 5, and he gets cleanse and assassinate. So he cleanses these 2 objectives. Don't remember if it was on this objective or this one. It doesn't really matter. He put this guy on one of these 2 objectives and cleansed it, and then he deep struck back here to shoot and try and kill Invocatus with the Zappy Zap from the Librarian. Kills Invocatus, gets his assassinate. That put him up to 76 points. With my sabotage, I believe I was on 8. It would be 60. So I'm on 60 points going into round 5, and my opponent's on 76. Now I've got primary to score. That puts me. I need 1 point from secondaries to win, which puts me in a very, very likely place to win. So because I've got CP to spend as well, so I get recover assets and behind enemy lines. I think I had to. I think I burnt no prisoners for a CP. And throughout this game, I've gotten good secondaries, but also we had adapt or die, which helps. And I wasn't needing to spend. I wasn't really needing to spend CP on things other than like auto advance 6. So yeah, game ends with me just scoring points. So I get the 15. I get behind enemy lines, and I do recover assets with like the rhino, with the ain't bound, and with the berserkers or the exalt ain't bound or whatever. So I get the 6 for that as well. So I actually scored 10 on the last round from secondaries. So it puts me to 85-76. And that won the tournament, which was just like, I still, even running through this game, have no idea how I won this game. Well, actually, I it's one of those things where it's like I don't feel like I won the game in the sense of like, I didn't smash my opponent, I didn't like run and kill loads of his stuff. I just caught the things that were important to him. Like killing the Terminators was not important. Killing one of them, yes, because if there was 3 running around, it's just too much. But having 2 where one's pinned on my home objective because it needs to end there, just really, really, like, he just didn't have any damage, right? You can see a large portion of my army still alive. And that's because he just didn't have the damage output to threaten it. And so yeah, that is the end of the tournament review. Luke, who ran the tournament, Luke Townsend, it's called Hive City. Fantastic tournament. It was really, really great fun. It was a great laugh. There was lots of great prizes. I actually got a prize for Angron dying first in one round. There was a spot prize for the first person to lose their warlord. And funny enough, it's Angron, and of course Angron revived that game. That was round 2 against the Custodes. I mean, I had such a blast. Obviously, it's nice winning, but I had 5 great games against 5 great players. And that's always what you want from a tournament. I can't wait to go to their next GT that I'm available to attend. Sadly, I think there might be some scheduling conflicts, but oh well. I think I might be able to return to defend my title at the next GT, but not the next RTT. So shout outs. I mean, it's probably a bit late to do it, but if you made it all the way to this part of the video, please like, subscribe, please comment, tell me what you thought. Tell me if you liked this sort of like tournament review. I went through all my games in a painstaking detail, too much detail, not enough detail. You want me to go more into like the decision making more? I mean, I tried to go through my thought process behind the moves I was doing, but most of it was planning out from the start, and then you just see your secondaries and it sort of leads you down a path. please, hit me up if you want to ask any questions or get any advice on what to do. World Eaters are in a great place at the moment, and I think as proven, I managed to win a tournament. So hopefully the people here can give it a good crack too, people watching. But yeah, so sponsors, we've got Glasshammer. You can get 5% off for using code Black Crow. That can include, that's literally anything on their website that you can buy, you can get 5% off, and it's 5% extra. So if they've got a deal that's like, oh, this particular Warhammer product's 20% off, you get 25% off with our code, and same for ticket prices. You get ticket price deals as well. And last but certainly not least, Terrain Forge, fantastic terrain. And we also have a 5% off code for them, which is BCG5, I believe. It will be in the description. I'm losing my voice at this point. I've talked nonstop for an hour and a half. So I hope if you've watched all of this video, you've enjoyed it. And please check out the rest of the series if you haven't seen them all before. Thank you very much.